In this video help, I'm going to be covering the Home Renovation 1.0 version 13. Home renovation in this particular application has three different approaches. The first one being a contractor who does multiple dwellings simultaneously, where he's tracking different production, subcontractors, costs, and all the elements that are related to the actual renovation of a piece of property. The second, and probably the most common one for this application, would be somebody that's flipping houses, where they're buying properties, doing all the paperwork, all the documentation, managing all the aspects of the renovation cost, buying materials, tracking all the stuff that goes on as far as doing the purchase and the final sale of the property at the end of the renovation to flip the house. The last, or the third one, possibility is where you have a reno or a flip working in conjunction with each other, where somebody has a property that they may be buying. This may be a builder where he's buying properties or rebuilding properties. Maybe some of them he's leasing, some of he's renting, and other ones he's flipping. That would be a combination where this particular application could fill that requirement as well. Let's talk a little bit about the screen we're on. This is the calendar screen. In the calendar screen, you have to recognize there's a lot of events or tasks that are going on an ongoing basis with the product that we're providing, and in this case, renovations. So there could be any number of different types of processes that go on each line, where somebody is looking on a daily basis, weekly basis, month, year, or in a list view to see what's actually what activity is going on in the calendar. Now, the calendar is not a single approach either. The calendar has the ability to have multiple different kinds of calendars, each one accessed by its own username and password. When they're on their own username and password, any transactions that are done by the person who logged in. In this case, I'm the admin, so I would be the person assigning the work as an administrator. Now, the administrator is also the developer, so I would be coming in and doing changes to the application, where the project manager or property manager would be the person that would probably do most of the input and assignment of different things for people. In this case, you can even have an individual's name where they're actually the overseer or manager outside of a project manager. So there's different ways to do this. There's also a construction track where the construction of the actual renovation is done, where you have a contractor who's doing the construction, and you would have a calendar that has all the events and tasks based on that particular contractor. There's also a property evaluation, where a realtor and the buyer, in this particular case, would be looking at the property and making an evaluation whether to purchase it or not. There would be a property offer situation, where if you're making offers on different properties, you would have a calendar just to track those property offers. Then there would be a reno start, and the reno start is actually a sequence of things, the reno being the renovation, and this is a start calendar where you're actually starting renovations, and then tracking anything that has to do with the starting and stopping of the individual transaction or work that's going on to get that renovation completed. And then there's the selling of the property, which is a separate calendar again, that you're putting in all the properties that you have for sale and tracking those sales as you're doing other renovations. This application is capable of doing multiple renovations simultaneously. A record is created that does the property, and I'll show this up here. This is the drop-down menu that navigates around the application. There's a customer screen, which is both the buyer and seller, where the transaction is created as an eval. You're going to evaluate the property, make a decision to make an offer. If you do make an offer, it's going to be all the things that are related to getting the offer done, all the pricing, costing, and the mathematics that are involved with checking and making sure that the property is viable as far as a purchase. That particular screen has a number of other things on that screen, including almost everything you see here that may be a portal that is working with the screen. Now, in this application, one of the things that makes this a newer, advanced type of an application is that all the work that's being done mostly is done through one screen with pop-ups. So the customer screen is the centerpiece of the back end of the application, and the calendar is the front end of the application. On each record that has an appointment, on a daily appointment where there's a task or event going on, most of the data you see on the customer screen that's vital to understanding what's going on with that particular event is displayed in the individual calendar record on the appointment. There is also a situation like on this particular one where it actually shows who is actually assigning it, what the priority is, what dates or date spans is this going. There's an icon to identify what the actual thing is. Each icon will change, and you can very quickly view an icon and tell what this particular event or task is all about. In this case, it's a property eval, colon, and the property. The colon separates what the actual task or event is, and then in this case, it's a property. It might be something that's an activity of some sort or an event where you spell out the actual thing that it is in here. This little portion of the screen is a thing that I've added as the developer. It gives you both the ability, if you click on the status button here, to go add statuses to a drop-down list. In this particular case, if you needed to add something, there's a whole line of different events that could be happening that are related to the property eval or other things that are going on each appointment that's being assigned. So for example, if you're just assigning a task or construction product delivery, contractor select, there's just a number of different things that are in here. As the owner of the application, the licensed owner, you have the ability to add your specific things in here, or on the initial setup of the application, you can go ahead and stop and do those things first before you start actually building the application. At each time that there's something that's completed, you can click the complete as far as this button here is, and what it'll do is it'll draw a line showing that that particular item is completed, although the checkbox or the check in the checkbox indicates that it's complete. If you take and go over here, there's a priority 1 through 5. If you're looking at your daily activity, you can set up priority 1s, 2, 3s, and 4 and 5, 1 being the highest priority. So those things that need to be done on a daily basis. One of the things that's not showing here is that if you have a task that has a start date and a due date, if you put in a start and due date where there's a span of days that are in between that, it may take 1 to the number of days, there will not be a time in here. But if you actually go in and look at the record and there is no time, and it's a single date span, like 1 day, there would be a start time and an end time on that day, which separates the individual appointments so you can have them sorted in order by the date and time. And this will automatically do that for you by those. You can still set priorities where maybe something that's happening later in the day is not at the top of the list as a priority to be done, but yet it is an item that is supposed to be done sometime during that day. Over here at the side, this is an activity or task that has not been completed, yet it's past the date that it was supposed to be done. You can see on the calendar down here, each time there's an event on a certain day, there's an underline in that date. Like these 2 days here have events in them. Normally, if you're using this full tasks, almost all these will have an underline on them for almost every day having something done. Now, this underline and the related information is only if you have a calendar person or a different type of task level where there's something assigned on that day. If you came in here and there was nothing assigned for that particular day, like on the 30th, there is something assigned, then it would show here and it would also show in this calendar. If I went to a different calendar for a different entity, meaning another one like the project manager, I could see that he also has this assigned to him. You can have an administrator assign different things to different people or different calendars. In this particular case, the person that logged in and started the event being an appointment, that would be the person that would have the assigned to them, and also they could pre-assign it to somebody else. Now, if I look here and there's nothing assigned to this person for the day, you'll see that there's no underlines in the calendar, and the property offer, there's nothing going on in this date about property offers. Now, if I went to the week or the month, then I would see, or the year, I would see all the property offers over a period of time. You'll notice also that the expired appointments are gone. They're no longer there because there's no appointments that are expired for this level. I go back to the administrator and they come back again. Now, you can see that this has a pop-up. This is a detail thing. This is typically done on the week, the month, or in the expired things, where if you hold the cursor over this, it'll give you the information about that particular task or event. If you go to users, now what users are is where these actual calendars were created. And to find out more about how that is done, you can click on the question mark. It'll explain that, the multi-user. It'll explain profiles, preferences, and how you relog back in. You could be logged in as one person like the administrator and then relog back in as a user and do something with that user account if you needed to as a manager. Now, only managers and administrators have the ability to modify things and set up users. Users themselves do not have that ability. They're restricted from being able to do that. As the administrator, if I look over on this side and I pull this down, you'll see that I have a whole bunch of different events or calendars that are set up in this portion of this screen, where I've created the administrator, the project manager, and the individuals plus their calendars. This is where these are created, and as I said before, they're explained in this help over here if you want to learn how to do it. The multilingual, which is a different thing now, I'm going to go ahead and click on that and show you that. The multilingual is done by the designer only. These are things that are set up to change the language or different things about the application, the way it works. This is pretty much an area you want to stay out of if you do not know what you're doing in this area, so that you would not get messed up by that. Profiles are the same way. Profiles are done by either an administrator or a manager who's set up with an administrative system administrator level of access. You can close this by closing the close button and going back into the application and going back to the daily or calendar area. In this portion of the screen, you will see that there is an icon that indicates that this is the calendar. There's the video help that you click to start this video. There's a support icon that will take you out to the support site where you can go ahead and find frequently asked questions, or you can send in questions on the frequently asked question screen. So you want to go there if you need support. Frequently asked questions, the questions that you ask, if you include your email, what happens, I can get those emails immediately and then get right back to you with your answer that you need. Understand that this application always has free support. I do not charge for technical support to support you as far as getting answers to questions. If you have any questions, then from this screen, go ahead and go to the frequently asked questions. The next thing I want you to do when you come back in is to click on this right here on the title. It's going to take you to this daily appointment, and I'm going to want to show you how the daily appointment screen works. Thank you.